Let's start with chapter number 8 in ASP.NET Web API series. And in this chapter, we will see what is CORS in ASP.NET Web API. Then how we can enable this CORS and what is the means concept of these things. What is origin and what is like same origin, different origin. So in the below diagram, you can see that they have shown some like request and responses. So in the first here in the localhost.com diagram, you can see that they have made one send ajax request, right? So they have made one request to web API server. This is our web API, and the web API location is like http localhost.com/API, right? So here they have mentioned like CORS is enabled for domain2.com site. Okay, now domain2 is here, right? Now they are trying to request from this local host, means this MVC application, client application, to web API. So request success due to same domain, right? So here the domain was same for your MVC application and for your web API. This is localhost.com, right? So request got succeeded. Now in case of domain 1, this is other application, MVC application, client application, but its domain is different. That is domain1.com. Okay, and web API domain is localhost.com, right? So this is different, and here they are saying that the CORS is enabled only for domain 2. So here this application made request, but request fails due to different domain name. So due to domain is different, it is not able to communicate with this web API project, right? Now in case of third domain 2, so the domain is different here. It is domain 2 and it is localhost, right? But here they have enabled CORS for this domain too. So request succeed due to CORS is enabled for this domain in server, right? So now they are telling us here we have to enable the CORS for different domains. Okay. Now before going to like further topics, we will see what is like same domain and what is different domain. So if you come here, in the previous session, we have worked with our jQuery project, right? So we have a web API jQuery application. And as I said, here you can see that for web API URL and for the URL which is creating for MVC, this is the root for MVC, right? If I run it, you can see that. Let it run. Okay, so this is my domain name, right? And if I will like add these things here after this, so it will call the same page anyway, right? So if I copy this URL and if I compare this URL with our Ajax web API URL, you can see that for both the URL, our domain name is same, right? 51367 and 51367. Only the rest of the API URL and MVC URL is different, right? So it is mean that these both applications are hosted at the same domain, right? And that's why we are able to access this without having core setting. Means we don't need to make core settings for if we have to call these applications from the same domain, right? Now let's do one thing. We will call this web API from different domain. So how we can do that? So let's add one more project here. We have this project already created, web API jQuery project. And to understand this project, means how it is created, you have to go through that web API jQuery video, right? Now let's add one more project. As I said, always open project as a run as administrator, right? So here I am taking one new project. The same way we have taken previous projects in the MVC, right? So MVC client app underscore new batch, right? So here I am taking one more new project, and from here I am selecting MVC. So in this we are going to select only MVC application, right? So I have taken one MVC application. This is my client application, and from this client application we have to call the web API, right? Okay, so project is created, and we can see these all folders here, right? But this folder is not having API project templates, right? We can add these things here anyway, right? So once we will add API controller, it will add API related all the classes and these things. Okay, but what we have to do here is we have to take one client controller. So I'm taking MVC5 controller empty, right? So we will call it something master, again master, and add it, right? Okay, let's add one action method. We will call it item master, and let's add one view. Now I am adding these things in the new project. This is my MVC client application. Fine. Only the names which I have taken the same, which we taken for that web API project, and uncheck these things here from this checkbox, and we are adding one view. So to add the view, we have to just right click on the action method and say add view and uncheck this. Okay. So this is how we can add it, right? So now uh, our .cshtml page is added here. We can see that item master.cshtml, right? And inside this, let's add something. We will like use this code, this ready code from client app. Fine. So this is my client application. Now what I have to do, I have to make a Ajax request from this application, right? So I am putting these things here in the our client application. So my code was already available and ready in the other project. So we have just copy pasted these things. And here you can see that the location for script folder, script file, jQuery script file is same, which we took in the our previous project. So in the script inside that we have this file. Make sure this is there, right? So it is there, right? It is like creating the same reference. Okay. Now we have a two project. One is our web API jQuery, right? And other one is our this project, my MVC client application new batch, right? Now, if we have to call this or run this page, what we have to do is we have to go to the root config in app start. This is the root config. Here we will not find that web API config because web API project is not added in this, right? So here we have to give the controller name, and here we have to give the action name. This is my action name, right? So this is how we will be able to run our item master.cshtml page. So as soon as it will run, it will call this function, and then it will call Ajax call, right? Now to access this URL, so this is the URL which is creating for our previous project. So let's run that project first. This is my previous project, right? Okay. So this is my previous project, and this is the URL which is created for my jQuery web API application, right? let me verify the URL. Okay, the URL is the same which it is created for that, right? So we are able to call this web API using this URL, but right now what we are experimenting, we are going to call web API from the different browser, right? So let's run this project and see if it is getting called or not. Before doing this, let's put one debugger here. So we are calling this method, right, from our web API jQuery project, and we are calling this project from our MVC client application, and we have used this URL. So we know that this URL is available because we have just run this project. This project is running, and this URL is available in the browser. So it is mean that this URL is available anywhere in the same machine, right? If I call it, it is getting called, right? So the same URL we have to call from this client application. Let's run this client application. Now you can see that the URL is different here. For it is created for that my MVC client application. It is 52087, right? Okay, so page loaded successfully, item master page from client app, right? So it is loaded from this application, right? But we did not get any result. We did not get this alert box which was given in the jQuery, right? So why it is happened? So it is happened because of this different origin. As I said, if you can like compare this URL this with the web API URL, so you will find it. Let me go to our client application. You will find it, the the URL for the client application is this 52087, and the URL for the web API is the 51367. So these are two different origins. So this is called different origin, okay? And the for same domain is called same origin. So because of the different origin, it is not able to find out this web API into at this location. So we have to tell our client application. So means we have to make some settings for this, and we have to tell our client application, or sorry, our web API application. You will be going to get the request from this URL, or you are going to get the request from the separate applications or client applications, and you should answer this request. So to make these changes, we have to enable the CORS. So before going into these things, let's F12 and see what error we get. So if I run this, so you can see that we got this error. Get, it is showing in the red color. So it is mean that we have some error. In status, it is showing CORS error, right? And if I click on this request, and if we will like, you can see that refer policy strict origin when cross origin, right? Means it is mean that browser has a setting where it checks whether the API request which we are making from the client application is having the core setting or not. If it is not there, the browser will restrict this request to get executed, right? So this URL is available, but it is not able to like call from this different application, right? Means we cannot call this request from this URL. So this is called the origin concept, and this is where the CORS concept comes in the picture. So we did not get any response, right? We just got this means we got this in the red color, means we got error, and the error is strict origin when cross origin, right? So this is where the origin set and sorry, core setting comes in the picture. So this is what they were trying to show us in the in this diagram, okay? So they have explained these things here, and we have seen these things practically just in the using Visual Studio, right? So they have shown us here what are the errors means which comes when we make request, right? Now here they have mentioned what is the same origin. So we have just seen if the domain is same, this is called same origin. If it is different, then it is called different origin. To like and okay, so we understood what is origin, these things, and now we have some like Microsoft packages, so we can enable CORS in web API using this Microsoft package. So the package name is microsoft.asp.net.webapi.cors. Okay, so this is the package we have to configure in our project. and then we have some line of code which we have to make in our project, then we will be able to access these projects. So I am stopping both the projects. You just make sure you just uh, concentrate in which project I am going to make changes. So we have to make changes into the web API application, not in client application. So this is my MVC client application. So we are not going to make changes into that application. So we have to make changes here in the web API jQuery project. So this is my web API project, right? So how we can install this package, right? So if I come here, the package name is microsoft.asp.net.web.app, web API.cors. Okay. To install this package, what you have to do, you have to right click on your project name. So this is my project name. This is my web API project, and you have to find manage NuGet packages. Okay. So you will get this window where we have like browse installed, update option. So here you have to go to the browse option. Installed means the packages which are already installed in the this application. Okay. So go to the browse section. Make sure your internet is available, and type this package name here. So once you will type it, it will come at the top. So here you can see that it is asking for install. So it is mean that it is not there in our project, web API project. So you have to install this by clicking on install button. So it will take a few seconds in case your machine is fast. If it is slow, it will take more time. So here is the like output window. It will shows us the status of installation. So it will basically what we can say, install these things from Microsoft server. Okay. So we have to accept these things. So the package is installed. Okay. So we have no error in this. Once the package is installed, it will shows an install option here. Okay. Now, once you install the package, you have to come to our project again in the project. Okay. And in web API config, we have to add some code. So the code is config dot enable core method. So we have to call this method. Okay. Once you will call this method, it will enable the core in your project. Now, next step is what? We have to make more some settings. So they have given these things here. So once the package is installed, we have to register enable core into our this web API root config, and we are going to use enable core attribute class for this. So here we have called enable core method already, but we have to use this class also. So the class name is enable cores attribute class, and it has some parameter. So first is like origin. So we need to set origin, which means from which domain the request will be accepted. Means here we have to mention the domain name. If we mention the star, it is mean that it will accept all the domain request. Okay. Now request header. So request header parameter specifies which request header are allowed. So request header means what? Accept, then content type. So we can mention these things here, which header should be allowed or which header should not be allowed, right? Then HTTP method. So here we can mention which method should be allowed, like get, post, put, delete. So we can make this like settings here. Then expose header. So we can do these things, right? And we can do this setting at three level. First is global level, then controller level, and then action level. So let's see how we can do this at controller level. So this is the code. I am just copy pasting it, and we will put it into the controller level. Sorry, it is global level actually. And we will see this code. So here we have taken enable core attribute class, right? As they have mentioned in the document. But we have to add this namespace to like access this class. So make sure you will add this namespace at the top when you will this class. Okay. Okay. We have to mention using here, right? Fine. Now this class is available, right? Now, as I said, this class is having this some parameter, origin, request header, HTTP method. So they have shown how we can set these things. So here we can define the domain name, any specific domain if we have, and we are going to get the request from that domain. Else we can give the star. If we will give the star, it will mean that it will accept request from all domain, from any domain, right? This is your request header, so we can mention which header should accepted from the client browser, right? So header means what? These are header like content type, data type. These are the header, so we can mention our headers. Then here is the HTTP method list. So if I will say star, it will accept all method HTTP method data, right? So this is the setting. Then we have to pass this object to this enable core method. Okay. So this is the only setting which we have to make into our web API project, and once it is done, it will succeed. It will successfully access the web API from the our client application. Once this done, make sure you will always rebuild your web API project. Make sure you will always rebuild your web API project, else it will not work. Okay, means your code will be perfect, but it is not due to it is not built, so it will not get accessed from other client applications. So this is my web API project. So we have made these things. We have made these settings inside my register method, which is inside the web API config file, right? So here we have added this code and this namespace. Now let's run this application first. So now I have run my web API project. Let it load. So we can come here. Okay, so it has created 51367 URL, right? So make sure the URL is same. Now let it available. Okay, it is available now, right? So it is my web API is available. Let's run the client application and see if it makes a request or not. Now we are calling web API from different origins. So okay, so it got called, right? So we are able to access these things, right? So it is called, and successfully we are able to access this from different origin also. I am removing the debugger here. If I click on F12, again go to network section in XHR and say Control F5. So you can see that we got successfully uh, access this this cross origin domain, right? So the we have requested localhost 51367 from our localhost 528, sorry, 52087, right? So we have successfully made a request from the different origins, right? Okay, and that error also removed from the this application. So we got a result in the preview. We can see here, right? So we got response in the JSON format also, right? So this is how we can enable CORS in our project. So they have mentioned in the document like we can enable CORS at global level. So we have done just this at global level. Then we can do this at controller level also. So we have to use this attribute. I will show you these things also. So how we can do this at controller level? Let's go to web API project, stop it. And this is my controller, item master API controller, right? So you have to mention this attribute at the top of this controller. Again, you can mention your origin name here, your URL name, or you can mention star here, right? This is the attribute enable CORS, and I think we have to add some namespaces. Let's see. The attribute name is something else. I think we have to find it. What is this? Or I think we have to. Where is my API? So here I think we have to comment these things. and remove these things, right? Let's come here. Okay, so basically what we have to do is we have to like comment this from our globalize setting from web API config, and we have to call only this method here, and then here we have to then only we will be able to access this class. Actually the namespace was not coming due to this setting. Okay, so I have commented this, then it has the same parameter which we gave here, right? These are the same parameter which we can give from our this location, right? So this is how we can like enable CORS for a specific controller. So let's run this and see it. Okay, we must rebuild this, right? Let's run it again. Okay, so it is available. Make sure your web API use URL is available when you are making request from your client browsers. Okay, let's run this from here. Okay, so we got a response here, right? 200, right? Now test. Let's add one more controller into the web API project. I have closed it. Okay, let's come to the web API project. We can keep our this uh, client project running, or we can stop it. Okay, wait. Now, if I come here in our web API project, right? And for example, I have to call other API. Do I have any other web API? Okay, let's test these things on the same web API. Same web API. Okay. Now here I am commenting this what we can say enable CORS, right? And I will test whether it works or not. So I have commented this and run the web API project. Once it is run, we will run our jQuery project also. So in this case, we have to run two projects. Fine. This is my web API project, right? And this is the client application. Okay, web API got project is run successfully. But if I see my client application and I let's control F5. So we did not get like access of this web API, right? We again got this error, strict origin CORS policy, right? So make sure it is like set there, then only we will be able to access these things, right? Let's again stop it and put it at action level, right? Let's go to this is client application. Let's come here and do this for action level. So I'm putting this for specific action and my action name is this one, get, right? Rebuild the app and see it if it works or not. Okay, so it worked. Let's call this from uh, our client browser. So let's run the client application once. So it is working fine, right? So it is successfully called from uh, our client application, right? Now let's try to access this other method. There is one more method in the web API, that is get and having ID as a parameter, right? So let's come here and we'll try to access other one. So we have this Ajax call, and after this we will add the URL query string parameter, right? ID equal to 1. So now we are calling this method, right? This get method from the client application. Let me save this and let's make the request from client browser. So if I will control F5, so we got some error, right? CROS error, right? So why did we get this error? Because if you go to our web API project, we have enabled core only for this method and not for this. So due to this, we got this error, right? If we will stop it and if we will enable the core for this method also, so this is the action level setting, okay, then it will get called from that client browser, right? Let's run this again. Okay, let's call it from client project. This is my client project, right? 52087. Let's close these things and say control F5. So we successfully like got a result, right? We can see that here we got 200 result, and we got response from the browser because of we enabled core for this other method also using this attribute class, right? So this is how there is a three at three level setting. In global level, we are making changes into the API config file. For controller, we have to use the attribute class at the top of controller, and for action, we have to use the attribute class at the top of action, right? So this is the setting which we have to make when we have to get the like API called from the different origins. Okay, so this all was in this session. So it is done. So this enable core has a like some parameter. So first parameter is your origin. So you can mention your URL name here, right? So this is it will only accessible for if you mention this URL here. So it will be accessible. This web API will be accessible only for this URL. Okay. Now you have to define content header. So you can mention your headers like content dash type, then data. So these are headers, right? So you can mention by putting comma separate values, right? If you have to mention your HTTP verbs, so you can mention get, comma, put, comma, delete, comma, post. You can mention the number of method which you want to be accessible in the other cross origin domain, right? So this is how you can make these settings. If I have mentioned this URL here, and if someone is trying to access this web API from other URL, so he will not get access of this web API. Okay. Any doubt other than this?